Awesome. Good afternoon, Category Prosperity. It is Matt here with John Rondi and Melissa King. John, how are you?
I'm doing really well. Can't complain. Melissa and I were just talking, and for those of you who are tuned in, we have the Queen of Kings. Right, Melissa? Is that right? You run the household over there. So
Right.
I asked Melissa today to join us, Matt, and hopefully Mary Beth can jump on here in a few.
Yeah.
Because similar to what we did not last Monday, which was Memorial Day, the Monday before, we invited in Evan, and I think that was a great value to have somebody that not only I have aligned with of sorts, certainly recently, and similar to Melissa here, our relationship has started to grow, and it's part of the team building part of what we do in the relationships here. That's really critical. So with that in mind, I just figured Melissa and I are always talking about some things, and she has an outlook on what's going on. That's, I think, different than even Evan, who we talked to last week. So Melissa, just if you don't mind, share with everybody here. Just tell me a little bit about what you've been doing, some of the things that are going on, some of the things you're finding in the market. We're going to have a nice short overview here to be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I've been pretty busy. I'm working primarily with buyers. They're out and about for sure. I'm seeing multiple offers on so many homes, trying to put them in a position that they're ready to, write the strongest offer up possible. Pre-approvals are a little bit of a struggle sometimes. I try to explain it to new clients, especially that, I don't prefer that they don't use their lender, but let's make sure that we use a lender that is going to get, the ultimate goal done, right? So I try to explain to them that, they're building a team, they're the team captain. Let's get on the phone with the people that answer their phones on the weekends that, can hit us up with new pre-approvals moment to moment when we see homes. I have a lot of clients that I need multiple, pre-approval letters because of bidding wars, and, you don't win them all. So, I get a little bit of pushback with some people. Some people want to go on Quicken Loans and, just do an auto-generated pre-approval letter. Don't get very many answers. I've had some issues where I've actually moved clients over from a previous lender to John since COVID because certain products are no longer available at certain lenders, maybe renovation loans, some of your more higher risk buyers, lower credit scores, things like that. So John's been killing it.
Thank you. Well, that's why I brought her on here, just to say nice things about me. So I see we have Kurt and Saray on. Hi guys. How you guys doing?
What's up, John? I got plenty of nice things to say about you too.
Oh, good. I got the right audience. Yeah. So let me touch on something, because Melissa brought up a very good point, and she mentioned another company that a lot of people, because it's marketed all over the place, and click this, click the button, get loan, right? Rocket Mortgage. There's Quicken Loans. It's all powered by the same, the technology-driven stuff. The challenge with that is a few things. One in particular, there's really no intimacy, right? There's zero local knowledge. And what I find in those situations, and just last night was another example with another KW realtor in your office, needed a letter. And I have technology. I have my mobile app, and my mobile app is fantastic in the sense that it connects them to the fast track of being able to click on the button, right, and do it at their own pace, but differently. It's with me. And so, Melissa, to your point about building a team, I love that you said that. That's so very all encompassing, that every borrower should take that position. And yeah, you have a good realtor, right? Now let's get a good mortgage person, have a good realtor, build your team, but also know what the trade-offs might be in terms of service. So just with regards to what you said about, getting the true pre-approvals in place. And last night, gentleman went on my app. I download his credit right from my app. Within 30 minutes, I had my approval and I sent my letter out. And I'm sure I'm going to have to do another letter subsequent to that offer, but it's okay in that now there's some place of being familiar with one another that we can grow from. So thanks for, again, sharing that experience that you're finding out there with people. So tell me a little bit more though about, you touched on the market and how busy you are, and you're a buyer's agent. I mean, you are in the trenches of doing what some of the team building realtors try to do, and having themselves be the listing agent and then have their own buyer agents to enhance their teams. So you're that, that real, have your ear to the ground type of a person. What else are you experiencing out there? Tell us a little bit about that.
I have to, all in all, I mean, I think I've been doing well. Early on, I was a little bit fearful about some appraisals. Turns out that wasn't a necessary fear, at least in my experience. I mean, I had one that was horrible that I believe, not with you, John, but I believe that the lender truly didn't want to move forward. Mm-hmm. But other than that, the appraisals have been, going well in my experience anyway. I haven't been, that hasn't been a complicated part of it at all.
Right.
I think, mostly I think, buyers are out there. People are, really looking to relocate. I mean, I think this whole situation has kind of changed the way people see their home life now, and there needs to be space in their homes for, working and homeschooling and,
sure,
enjoying outdoors and things like that.
Right.
So the market here, I feel like, I mean, I'm getting a lot of calls. I mean, New Yorkers, I mean, people are just looking to move. And I would tell sellers too, I mean, now is a great time to list because the demand far outweighs the supply. And
yeah. Good point.
You're not getting a deal right now.
Yeah, so good point. And you mentioned again about buyers and the multiple offers. And just to go back to one thing, we were talking last night, and we have a transaction closing tomorrow. And you were sharing with me some of the borrower's frustrations, right? In what maybe their expectation is about the process, and how we as mortgage lenders keep asking for things. So can you share, because that was really, that's a great conversation.
The truth is, I mean, we all have, a variety of clients, and some of my clients are amazing on paper, and right. Most of them are not. Right. And the ones that are not, there's some creative things that sometimes need to be worked around. And I try to set expectations early on with these buyers that, no offense to the lender, but the lender is going to annoy you until the last week. That's just how it goes. You're spending a lot of money. You're trying to get a huge loan, yep. And the lender is not going to lend you this huge number without really checking up on you and then continuing to follow up and check on you. So I try to explain to them that the lender is going to be, the aggravation of the transaction, not because, the lender's not doing their job. That's the process. And, stay on top of that, because if you don't, it kind of, you don't catapult yourself into the next phase, right? So you need to get through a couple of phases before you get to the closing table. If you drag your feet, you don't ever get from phase one into phase two. We can't get it to the underwriter. And it's looking less and less likely that you're actually going to be able to make the purchase.
Right.
The client John speaking of was, we were at a different lender, right? The different lender kind of said like, we can't do this. Once COVID started, they were like, we can't do it. Sorry, Melissa, it's not going to happen. So I said, how bad do you want to buy this house? You really want to buy it? We got to switch lenders and we got to move quickly. I called John. and John's asking for things. The original lender never said it was going to be easy. This was not a black and white file.
Right.
And,
Not by not
and
even close.
but they want to buy the house, right? Then the lender says, sorry, we can't do it. I bring them over to John. In the last 2 weeks, the clients calling me, this lender, he's really something. He's really tough. He's really asking for it's so frustrating. He keeps asking for paperwork. And ultimately, right, they're getting the keys tomorrow.
Yeah. And the best part is, so we keep asking, but what in his case keeps changing is when you put 5,000 into a bank account and 10,000 into a bank account and 6,000 into a bank, you got to know where it is. And it's so much easier if all of that stuff is front loaded, right? So if I see a bank statement and it has 3 and 4 large deposits, well, I can ask you just to address it right from the beginning of that application if I see it. If I don't see it, well, then I can only address it once I see it. And if, to the point of the client we're referencing, things change. If you don't have enough money to go through the transaction, right? Because we need to, and you need to deposit more money by way of maybe a gift, or you have another check that comes in from your job, everything has to get sourced out. So it is a never ending process. Today, especially, I just went through yet another update on change as it relates to COVID-19. And I'll share this with you guys because it's important. There's so many guidelines. I'll be the first one to admit that many of them slip through the cracks. I try to not only understand them and retain them and apply them practically, but interpretation is a little fuzzy, right? I've been doing it 28 years, and my interpretation of what the guideline is could be one thing. I don't know what, at the end of the day, it's really going to be until I have someone go through the appropriate change to experience it. One great example is forbearance. So anybody who's in forbearance has to be current before they can get financing. That's a real simple way of putting a very convoluted type of a guideline change that Fannie Mae has made. And it's effective in June that any new loans that are written, they have to be current in forbearance. So I want to give you 2 examples. One on a refinance, if you have friends and you have family that say, hey, let's refi this loan, and they haven't made a payment on it, well, you can't refi until you're current on your mortgage. That's number 1. So as a realtor, you say, well, that's not my business. I'm worried about purchases. Okay, so let's take the person that is selling their house, that knows they have another house they're going to buy, and they say, well, forget it. I'm not going to make the payment. I'll take the forbearance. I'll go find my next house, and I'll go get a mortgage. Well, if I know they're on forbearance, and even if they don't tell me, there's a good chance we're going to find out. It may not show up on a credit report. It may show up on a payoff. And if you go the whole length of a process, you get your buyer a house, they're selling their current house, and then they get that loan payoff, and it says it's in forbearance, well, that loan better get paid off, at least with us as the bank, this is how we're doing it, the same day that you're going to buy the next house, right? So you close out one, it makes the loan current, and you can buy the next one. If you own multiple properties, right? We know, Melissa, you have multiple properties. If someone's going to go buy another house and you have one of your other current properties in forbearance, you can't go buy that next property because you have a loan in forbearance. You've got to bring it current, and then you can move on with your transaction, right? So that is not this bank's policy. Interestingly enough, I was talking with a friend of mine who works for a very big bank, and we were discussing the forbearance rule change that I just shared with you guys. They're not even taking the loan application. So if they find out you're in forbearance, whether it's for a refi or on a purchase that you own another property that's in forbearance, so they're selling your current home, buying a new home, but the current home that you're in is in forbearance, they're not even taking your loan application. That's a big bank. That's how they're addressing it. So there are going to be some policy overlays with that, but here again is just COVID-19's been going on for the better part of 3 months. Here's another agency change that we now as lenders are going to be flying a little bit in the dark about until you get a person that's in that scenario, but that's the overview of it. Okay, does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay, good. So, well, I mean, listen, that's the short of why I wanted to bring, Melissa on specifically was to bring a fresh set of eyes to this. Too often, for me, I think I know my audience. It's my client base first. But with that, I also have realtors as clients, right? So there's two different people that I'm going to service. And I love the fact that, Melissa, you shared some of the things you did because it makes me more aware. Without, again, naming the borrower that we're talking about, that conversation you had with the borrower, I wasn't aware of. And so that tells me there's an opportunity, because I don't want anyone to think that that I'm just trying to be tough for the sake of being tough, right? I don't want them leaving this transaction now. Oh, great, I got the house, but that was tough. That doesn't leave it on a positive for me. It's good that it closed, but I appreciate that feedback.
Well, especially when other people couldn't close it. I mean, like you're the hero is in reality, but they just don't know that as much as I tell them.
Right. And sure. So so I see that as an opportunity, and it's a healthy exchange that we have, and then for the benefit of maybe others, it's a constant situation, I think, where you can feel that you did everything right, and yet you missed something. And the only way I'm finding out about that, that specific piece is because you're sharing it with me. So again, it's a value.
I actually have a lending question about people that are actively collecting unemployment.
Mm-hmm.
There's some people are on partial unemployment,
furlough.
Right? So what does that look like?
Sure. So those who are on furlough, so it's not seasonal. If you have seasonal unemployment and you're going to get it every year, year in, year out around this time, and it just happened to be falling into the COVID-19 space, that's a little different because it's looked at differently. The bottom line to any sort of unemployment is just that, it's unemployment. So if you're furloughed and you're getting unemployment, or you're seasonal unemployment, we need you to go back to work. You need to have a check, pay stub to show you're back to work. There again was another, 30 days ago, maybe less than 30 days ago, it was originally thought that you could get away with just saying with a letter from the employer that they're going to be back to work, right? So even if you wanted to close today, June 1st, and they were going to back to work on July, that was okay. Well, now it's not okay, because now you can't, if you're going back to work in July, then you can't close until you show the pay stub that you went back to work.
What if you're like just reduced hours? Like I have a couple people I'm working with that hours are reduced. So they're still getting paid, but they're collecting unemployment.
That's okay. As long as the reduced income, as long as that reduced income supports the loan, you're okay. If the reduced income doesn't support the loan, then you're not okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
What if you had a borrower who owns their own business that was forced to close during COVID? How would something like that work?
This is just today. I think the start date on this is June 20 something. Also, this is a Fannie Mae agency guideline. Now we are requiring, and I say we as lenders, not just my bank, a year-to-date P&L. You can get one of two things, either an audited P&L from someone that is self-employed, or a P&L with invoices and bank statements supporting that you have money coming in. So if you're out of business, Kurt, if you're out of business, whether it's due to COVID-19 or you're just out of business, the key thing is you're out of business. You're not, obviously, you're not, it's not income that's coming in, so we can't use it.
Right.
And I have, to your point, several self-employed people that have already closed in May and that are going to close before the actual guideline hard fast stop, and they're just going to make it. I know for certain that their business has been affected. but they're still okay, and
Yeah.
and it doesn't change the complexion of the total deal, which is why we're able to still close it. But those same people, same circumstance, trying to close in July or applying afterwards in August, it's a whole set of rule change. So yeah. Yeah, so it's one of those things too where, do you ask the question, or you're kind of like, oh, well, maybe they won't find out. Well, guess what? We're going to find out. It all comes out in the wash, and I'm on the other side of the call when I'm listening to, my leadership share with us these changes, and we're salespeople. So the first thing we think of, okay, what's the workaround? Right? How are we going to get around this? How can I I'm afraid that these are so fast moving and slippery that you need to ask the right questions, and you need to take a strong, firm position that this is the right thing to do. It's the right way to do it, and get in front of it now so that there is no 11th hour problems when the moving van wants to come up and pull up to the house and start moving furniture out. Right. Anybody else? This is the biggest audience we've had.
Kurt or Melissa or Saray, who's on the call, do you guys have any other questions for John before we close out today?
John, how are renovation loans looking?
They're actually, I'll tell you what,
we have one going, yeah.
Yeah, we do. Melissa and I happen to have one going. I have several of them going. They're more popular now. How many have you been? I know, Kurt, you've been to Lowe's or Home Depot recently. I mean, right. It's packed. The line is, I went to the one in Riverdale, Home Depot. I was there at 6:30. They open up at 7 a.m. I haven't been to one. I just wanted to get 6:30. There was a line of like 30 or 40 people. Mm-hmm. I couldn't believe it.
It's crazy. I try to go like Thursday at like 11 a.m. so nobody's there.
Wow. Well, then you know the right time. I didn't know. I thought I was just going to jump on and I sit in my car for a little while, drink my coffee, and then I go in at 7. And there was a line of 30 people when I pulled up there. So a lot of the contractors that I'm talking with, they're really busy. I have, and let's face it, they only recently, meaning even like landscapers, some of the rules have changed, and a lot of the other, they've only recently been allowed to go back out and do their thing, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of activity with regards to the renovation stuff, and I have the products, the construction loan, and the 203K and the home style loan. So yeah, we're leveraging that right now. It's popular, so doing it. Yeah.
How many people aren't doing it? I mean,
to me, the money's cheap. The interest on it is reasonable. Why not do it for for a $30,000, $25,000 to $30,000 minimum repair, all the way up to a couple $100,000? Why not? You're borrowing the money in 3.5, 3 3/4. That's pretty good, Mm-hmm. So, what about you, Matt? Anything else?
I think it's great. Honestly, I think having guests come on the call, there was a lot of great information today, a lot of great content, and I think next Monday, if you have someone else lined up to come on, I think it's very informative.
Yeah.
It also helps give a better snapshot of where things are. I think last week in particular, I think a lot of buyers are out and about, and even more so, as weeks go on. I think I saw somebody post last week, I forget who it was, but that showings from a showing time site last week, it was up year over year from like May of 2019 versus May of the same week. Showings were actually on par or even a little bit more than last year. So I think things are definitely starting to move. And so I think these calls are still very informative, and your guests are very helpful. So thank you for coming on.
I was going to ask Kurt to go next Monday, but now I got to go back to my, unless you want to come back
on. I was thinking you being lonely, Rondi. I
appreciate it. Matt will tell you, I said to Matt and Mary Beth 3 weeks ago, I said, how much longer are we doing these? Is anybody watching? Like, I don't know. And so I'm like, we got to figure out another venue. Yeah. And so this has been very helpful. And Melissa, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you working with me and giving me the opportunity. It's the most rewarding part. Everyone likes making money. Everyone likes providing for their family. Everyone likes doing the transactions. probably the most flattering thing for me is just getting the referral. I can't say enough about that. So you guys have all been a great group, and Kurt, you've been a great fan. Saray and I have done some things, and Melissa of lately, we've really cranked it into a whole nother gear, and that's the exciting part, because that's how we connect the dots. And to your point, Melissa, that's how the team gets built. So thanks for coming on.
Welcome.
All right, Matt, let's end on that. I thought that was perfect.
Thank you guys. We'll see you guys.
Right.
We'll see you next Monday.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, John.
Have a good day.
Bye, guys.
Yeah,
Bye, Melissa.
bye now. Take care. Bye-bye.